Hello, friends. I wanted to talk to you today about the power in the word. I wondered, have you ever considered the power of your words? Where do your words come from? What is their function? Have you ever even thought about it? If not, perhaps we can delve a little into it now. Words enable the past to live in the present. Words can paint a picture of the future. There are many of you here now who are no doubt familiar with the Bee Gees song lyric, "It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away." Maybe you can even hear the sound of the music that carries it. Interestingly, the complete verse highlights the role of words in the creation of our world. This world has lost its glory. Let's start a brand new story now, my love. Right now, there'll be no other time, and I can show you how, my love. Talk in everlasting words, and dedicate them all to me, and I will give you all my life. I'm here if you should call to me. You think that I don't even mean a single word I say. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away. Remembering these words, being able to hear song lyrics in our head, is what in effect continues to give these words life. They bounce from brain to brain across time and space, but what's worth taking into account is that the meaning they hold is retained only by the social contracts we place upon them. Likewise, I'm sure that many of you will be aware of the continued existence of the thoughts of individuals no longer present due to the power of the written word. They bring an element of immortality to an otherwise mortal existence. As a student of English at university, I was deeply invested in the ability words have to convey the lives, experiences, internal realities and thoughts of others. I wondered, do other people think like me? What would it have been like to live in the outback of Australia or in the slums of India? I was enamoured with the process of storytelling and the richness of life that the 26 letters of the alphabet could convey. Despite studying English and being a storyteller myself in my early youth, I still hadn't fully grasped the role that words play in constructing our reality and even the laws that govern our countries. Empires have been formed and dissolved, nations born, and wars fought and won on the power of the tongue. For a long time, our stories were orally carried through song and tale-telling before we learned to scribe the written word, which led to developments in both our culture and thinking, bringing on leaps in civilizations. We were able to pass on knowledge and ideas far further and quicker than we'd been able to previously, and as Leonard Shlain would argue, we began to inhabit the more masculine aspect of our psyche. Consider, for example, the stories of the Bible. These stories live on in the minds of the Christian consciousness and in fact have influenced the governing of countries, or at least they did until very recently in the UK when King Charles admitted that his allegiance was no longer to God but instead the World Economic Forum. Thus we appear to have reached a turning point in the wider story of humanity, in which we can either become the villain or the hero in the plot, which might lead to our own demise as the collective shifts into a mindset of mass victimhood for one reason or another. There are plenty of victim labels to choose from. What they all seem to agree on is that if governments will not take action on saving the planet, well, now it's the job of the corporation. This puts us all in a very dicey situation. You see, like policies which shape the behaviours and endeavours of a political party, words too are capable of influencing our beliefs, ideas and decision-making processes. However, in order for them to function, we must have a consensus of agreement as to the meaning behind those words. To keep things simple, if we can't all agree that the word table does in fact refer to a physical table, we can't possibly understand when someone tells us to put it down on the table. Not agreeing that the word table denotes the object, a table, does not make it any less factual. However, that it is indeed a flat surface which can be of varying heights, materials, colours, etc., but it must have at least one leg and be a horizontal surface. More than this, though, is the truth that words influence our reality to such an extent that we may not even perceive an object in the visual until it has been labelled, or perhaps until our attention is drawn to it in some way. Words can therefore be seen as holding the function of holding our attention, acting as a pointer, if you will, or a honing device. Unfortunately, the agreements we've made about the meanings attached to certain symbols, words, are now being remoulded through a long-standing campaign not only to redefine what it means to be a man or a woman, but more than that, what it means to be human. As the real and the unreal go further apart and the boundaries less clear, the depths of the simulated world becomes ever deeper. Yet so too must the fruits to be found in the real become ever sweeter. We are living in a world of contrast and contradiction, where ultimately all must finally be forgiven, for all of it is part of us, just as we are each other. There are many even who have died and returned to Earth to attest to the fact that the world we currently inhabit is a simulation. This, I would argue, is not untrue. The language we speak, the words we utter, are themselves a distraction. However, words are merely symbols for ideas, objects and concepts. They are abstract and bear no real relation to the world of the concrete. No more can this be obvious than when we consider the stories told to us which promote the proliferation of events which are biologically impossible. A man, for example, giving birth. They create a layer that distorts the truth and the vast proliferation of technologies which take us further away from the connection we have with her, the primordial mother, and our own bodies. Underneath, however, the earth continues to breathe, grow, and develop in a very real sense. As I write or speak these words, the majority of the population is invested in a narrative which paints humanity as a scourge upon the earth, a virus, if you will. The cause of an apocalyptic, planet-ending event rests upon humanity's head, according to the climate doomsdayers, whilst the nature of a human being itself is in question. At the same time, there are a number of other narratives being woven, and an individual's actions tend to form in accordance with them. This is why anyone wishing to steer the direction of a group of people need only take control of the narrative to which they have themselves invested. For this to occur, the group must be able to see an aspect of themselves in that narrative. I'm reminded of a lyric from a song in which humanity is positioned as an integral aspect of nature, literally, using the metaphor of weaving, something which it said was gifted to humanity by the Spider-Woman aspect of the great goddess. We are the waft and weave. We inhabit times now where the majority of the population accept methods of control in order to feel safe from invisible threats, whilst on the other hand, nuclear physicists are admitting to the fact that they've spent years studying the subject without ever actually knowing what an atom looks like. Is it just an interpretation of the data? Is it just a lens through which people view things rather than being an actual thing in reality? Is a question asked by Stephen Young, author of Fool's Gold. When I started looking for satisfactory proof of atoms, I couldn't find it, he said in a recent interview with Richard Vobes on YouTube. The American poet Muriel Rukeyser said the world is made of stories, not of atoms. But can we say that atoms is one of our most important stories? The discovery that words can manipulate our consciousness, the way we perceive, experience the world, each other, and abstract concepts, has taken humanity on a dark path. It enabled certain people to accumulate power in such a way as to position themselves in a place where they've been able to manipulate the beliefs, attitudes, and behaviours of various sections of the population for their own benefit, using what it boils down to as the 26 letters of the alphabet. One study conducted in 2013 highlights the powerful impact language has upon the way we view an individual, with its findings demonstrating the negative effects of the use of infantile language in reference to the feminine. If you've never heard of the infantilization of women, allow me to introduce you. It's an incredible phenomenon by which our society systematically equates femininity with things like vulnerability, submission, uncertainty, and childhood. To be womanly today is to be, in many senses, infantile. It was Sut Jali, Codes of Gender, 2009, who said that. Once upon a time, however, to be a woman equated with one with the life-giving, nurturing and death-wielding capabilities of the earth. Her mysteries were honoured and her body seen as sacred rather than as a sex object, an extension of the planet, not something separate from it. It was seen as an instrument through which the culture and activities of the tribe were lived and guided. A woman's body synchronised with the moon and the seasons, hence it stood to reason that she would know when to plant, when to play, when to gather and when to make hay. The role of the male was not something to consider or question, but evolved harmoniously to support the tribe's way of life, hunting and protecting. We must now recognise that for far too long our attention has been turned away from our relationship with the earth and the goddess therein. The global system of symbols linking the human being with our surroundings, I believe, could in part provide the antidote to the current trend humanity is exhibiting in identifying with their own reflection, currently being amplified through the explosion of social media. It offers the potential for us to identify with nature and form a true partnership with the capacity to take on her mind instead of the artificial intelligence which, as we speak, is in effect a Venus flytrap. It's my hope that as a species we can galvanise a new story for humanity in which we become the saviour of ourselves. I'll leave you with those thoughts for today. Thank you for listening.